Cherubs, the story goes that the Assyrian army, led by Holofernes, stood outside the city of Bethulia, threatening to overrun the city. The inhabitants had lost hope and were on the verge of giving up, but Judith put on her best clothes and walked into Holofernes' camp, encouraged him to drink. Then, as he passed out in his bed, she took his sword, held him by the hair, struck his neck twice, and smote off his head. Soon afterwards, she went out and gave Holofernes' head to her maid, who placed it in her food bag. With their leader decapitated, the Assyrian army fled, and Judith was the hero. Yet she doesn't appear in that cultural pantheon of biblical underdog stories with David, Moses, or Joseph. The original source of that story is lost, and even though it appears in St. Jerome's Vulgate Bible in the early days of Christianity, many Christians and Jews don't recognize the story. The story became popular for Catholics during the Counter-Reformation, a period of time when the Catholic Church needed to respond to the threat of Protestantism in Europe. In the mid-16th century, Europe largely had a policy of whose kingdom, his religion, and so the religion of the political leader dictated the religion of the area. And this, as you know, led to some issues in England with the Tudors. Elizabeth I, for example, was declared by the Pope to be a heretic, and essentially he asked good Catholics to assassinate her. The theme of taking off the head of a kingdom, particularly one that doesn't worship God in the same way, became a popular theme for Catholics, and so the theme of Judith became popular for Catholics. Botticelli painted it, Michelangelo painted it on the ceiling of the Sistine Chapel, Caravaggio painted it, as he does, in a particularly graphic way, but let's look at the artist for whom the story seems particularly interesting, Artemisia Genteleschi. The art historian Mary Garand described Judith and her maid as guerrilla warriors, functioning heroically in an alien territory. They're not only Israelites in enemy territory, they're women in the patriarchy of military engagement. That's not unlike Artemisia functioning in the patriarchal art world of the 17th century. But let's look at this painting rather than the lives. Judith does not appear, as she does in Caravaggio's similar image, as a delicate beauty, or someone keeping herself away from the bloodiness of the act. She's a woman of determined action. She's wearing boots and competently holding her weapon. So now let's return to Judith's reputation. She protected the Israelites in the same way that David, Moses, or Joseph did, and yet she's typically grouped with Salome and Delilah, who were both responsible for seducing and killing biblical heroes rather than villains. She's grouped with femme fatales rather than leaders. It's not hard to see why Artemisia, who had experienced sexual abuse and was consequently labeled as a woman with loose morals, would be attracted to this story. She was abandoned by her husband and had to raise her child on her own, while all the while continuing to pursue art patronage in a culture dominated by male artists. She was, in her own way, a guerrilla warrior functioning heroically in alien territory. If you like this video, please consider subscribing. I put out a new one on about the 15th of every month. Thanks for watching.